Yeah. I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won one. Yeah. I hope my team they won one. Yeah. Man. I hope my team they won one. I hope my team they won one. Yeah. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with the hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Mike Washington is still out on assignment. We have none other than Charles Bishop and A.D. Drew. Welcome to episode 557 of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab radio show and podcast, the show that's covering the sporting HBCU dash for all things HBCU sports. For institutions large and small, from the NAIA to the NCAA, we share insights and information on the HBCU sports culture, HBCU athletic aesthetics to facilitate the story of HBCU athletic programs in the business of HBCU sports. Simply put, we call it HBCU sports pedagogy. I'm your host, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, along with my co-host today, which is A.D. Drew and Charles Bishop, filming from our home studios and sending a signal live to KSOH 1230 AM studios with the Texas Radio Hall of Famer, multi-Hall of Famer. That's Ralph Cooper in the beautiful home of Texas Southern University. That's homecoming. Texas Southern University. Hot 97 homecoming is the phrase of the year from Houston, Texas. Charles, things are shaping up for homecoming on campus. As you saw earlier today, had a dean's meeting. I hope I didn't let you down in terms of presenting myself in the dean's role in the College of Education here at Texas Southern University.
Not at all, Doc. I mean, a lot of things going on today at Texas Southern. You had the groundbreaking of the new baseball field that will be on campus now. You had eager fans pointing out where their seats should be. So a lot of buzz right now going around Texas Southern.
Yeah. I like that you're talking about where their seats gonna be. They gonna buy them. I you made sure that I got my prime space. You know, I gotta have one for Deuce and I. So I missed out. I was doing another meeting, but we did get to go to the after set. So maybe that'll allow us to make sure we get things in there. With that being said, oh man, I got to share the big news. We've been holding on this far too long, but as a dean, I certainly understand what it means. Oftentimes when you have to go through the human resources, they don't necessarily move at the speed that you would like to, but they move at the appropriate speed for them. Certainly make sure they protect the university or college. With that being said, A.D. Drew has been formally onboarded with Morehouse College. He is the title of Sports Marketing Manager / Sports Information Director. And that is effective October the 1st. Congratulations, A.D.
Congratulations.
I appreciate it. Long journey. You know, I'm not going to sit here and talk about myself and brag about myself, but I'll just say this. It feels good to be wanted by your own people, you know.
Oh, yeah.
You know, there were a couple of opportunities out there for me, and you know, just felt like this was the best one that I could that I could choose at this point in time in my life and in my career. And it's ironic that this officially comes out the week of the granddaddy of them all, the Tuskegee Morehouse Classic. I've got to learn to start saying that the other way around, the Morehouse Tuskegee Classic, since I now work for Morehouse. True story. Yesterday, they had the press conference for the Classic, and I bumped into one of my old players from Tuskegee when I was coaching at Tuskegee. He's an athletic director at a high school in Columbus, Georgia, and obviously he didn't know the news. He's like, "Man, what you doing with that M on your chest, man?" Oh, man. Hey, man. And I was like, I'll be honest with you, you know, you can change the stripes on the outside, but there's still a special heart for, you know, what you have inside. But this week, I have no love for that color of a kite.
Smart man. You are cashing checks now, benevolently. With that being said, let's get into some HBCU news of the day. Gentlemen, before we get into it, next segment, we'll get into some key matches. In fact, we'll get into the top 10 matchups, which happen to be at the mid-major division. And I'm going to ask you for some key success. I'm saying all that to say it's week 6, gentlemen. It is week 6.
That means midterms come out next week, Dr. Cavil?
That's right. That's right. Now, I was going to say in another 2 weeks, we'll be at the midpoint, which means exam time. Most teams will have at least 3-4 other conference games under their belt in terms of the SWAC. You'll be getting ready to enter into play for the MEAC, the down stretch of the season when it really gets important. Obviously, they have one game that took place last weekend in the Circle City Classic between North Carolina Central and Norfolk State. We know how that went. And then you have the CIAA and SIAC races that are heating up, as they will be 3-4 games. And we'll see if the teams that have started like fire, non-conference and conference, continue to hold that momentum, or will things change in another direction as we look at these topsy and turvy seasons. And before you know it, the scary part for us football fans, it'll be halfway gone. I don't know if you look at it half empty or half full, but anyway, give me some HBCU news of the day.
Yeah, let's take a look at HBCU football games in terms of week 5. From an attendance standpoint, Prairie View and Gramblin's 5 overtime thriller in the State Farm Classic led all week 5 games in attendance. Also, Fort Valley State and Savannah State made the top 10 despite being rescheduled due to weather, Dr. Cavil. So let's take a look at the top 5 in terms of 10 most attended HBCU football games in week 5. As mentioned, Prairie View and Grambling, 52,323 at that game. North Carolina A&T at South Carolina State, home opener for South Carolina State. They had 15,000 at that game. Shout out to Omega Psi Phi for getting a penalty in that game, but the school spirit was there, Dr. Cavil.
Hey, and the coach let us know that you promoted. We fratting all. Hey, man. Hey, man. Don't do that no more.
Hey, man.
Giving him like a little finger with. Don't do that.
That tells you the respect they have for A&T in that one. And Jackson State. Jackson State at Texas Southern, 13,173 in Houston. And Hampton and William Mary, there was 11,317 at Hampton versus William and Mary. So those are the top 5. We want to give honorable mention: Alcorn, Mississippi Valley, 7,000. Bama State at Bethune, 6,000. Boys State at Winston-Salem State, 4,900 at that game. Morgan State and Stony Brook had 4,800. And as mentioned, Fort Valley at Savannah State, 3,600. And that's kudos to them despite the weather that was going on. So shout out to all these HBCUs that and your fan bases that are turning out for these games.
No doubt about it. Good information, great updates. Prairie View on the board with 52. Prairie View and Grambling, 52, 320. 3 eyes, pretty impressive to kick stuff up on television. So that certainly hasn't hurt the cause as we talked about it. They're still packing it in. Something about that fair day, if you would, in the matchup between Prairie View and Grambling, as they kind of go back and forth. Fascinating to see how that classic, if you would, is flipped in terms of who is the power broker when you look at the last 10 years. With that being said, A.D. Drew, what news do you have on the table that has your interest today?
Well, I want to go to the granddaddy of them all, Dr. Cavil. And if you don't know what, and I'm not talking about the Rose Bowl. I am talking about the granddaddy of all classics, that being the Morehouse Tuskegee Classic, returning to the city of Columbus, Georgia.
Let me ask you this for those that may have a different reference point in terms of why you call it the granddaddy. I know, but share with everybody why you particularly say the Tuskegee Morehouse, or Morehouse Tuskegee, as you just made sure people understood, depending on what side of the coin you play on. Why would you say that this is the granddaddy of them all?
Well, I'm glad you said that, Dr. Cavil, because there's a beautiful article on the Black College Sports Network, mybcsn.net, written by somebody with the last name of Drew, that actually discusses this. And you can read this in depth for yourself, mybcsn.net, mybcsn.info. This article right here, it'll be retweeted later. It's also available on the MorehouseAthletics.com website as the game preview. But this classic, Dr. Cavil, was started in 1936. 1936. Number one, it is the oldest NCAA Division II classic that is out there. There are only 3 other neutral site games in NCAA that are older than this. They are the Rose Bowl, the Sugar Bowl, and the Cotton Bowl. Rose Bowl started in 1902, resumed in 1916, and has gone on annually since then. And the other 2 bowls that I mentioned started in 1935, 1 year before this classic kicked off. So this classic kicked off in 1936. These 2 teams have met 114 times on the gridiron, with the first one being in 1903, I do believe. I wrote the article. I should know this off the top of my head, but it's in the article, the year that the first one played. And were it not for COVID, it would be the longest one. But obviously, 2020, they did not play this particular classic. It is called the 85th because it is the 85th in the city of Columbus, but this is actually the 88th because Columbus is not counting those 3 years that they played in Birmingham. So.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Just so you know. What we think about that.
Just so you know, they're not counting those 3 years of Birmingham. But when you get a chance, like say, either go to mybcsn.info or you can go to the MorehouseAthletics.com website and read the article in its entirety. So,
great information, man. Make sure you go check out that article. You just heard some tidbits, and those were all fascinating. And as HBCU fans, HBCU historians, I would hope, in terms of the artifacts, I think this is the type of information we need to hold on and make sure we know. Because a lot of folks would talk about the granddaddy, but one measure of the granddaddy is the oldest, and it certainly qualifies under that. Go ahead.
Can I give one other bit of history? And I want to get this out before people read this article. The one of the main reasons this classic was created was for the African American soldiers who were stationed at then Fort Benning in Columbus, Georgia, now called Fort Moore because they got rid of the Confederate names. But it was a form of entertainment for the African American soldiers, not only the soldiers, but the other people who are in that community. So this game, that's why I say this is more than a classic. This game it was created for a reason and has gone on in that tradition. Obviously, the focus has changed a little bit since 1936, but I just want everybody to know this was originally created as a form of entertainment for those who served our country.
Good stuff. Keep producing that. You had the video historical narrative on the Grambling and Tuskegee game, and I found that fascinating, great work. And now you double up and provide us with some more, particularly when we talk about the mid-major level. I wanted to put this out there and get a little bit of your thoughts, depending on how much time we got to get through it before we have to get to this first break. But Delaware State claims to be the first to launch a private, I think the key word here is private, merch label. Delaware State University is making history by becoming the first historically Black college university to own and distribute a clothing line and a private label brand of merchandise. Starting this week, select DSU apparel and items will be available on Amazon Marketplace, Walmart.com, and online. Thanks for the groundbreaking partnership with Everything Collegiate LLC, a Black-owned business based in Atlanta, Georgia. DSU's private label will provide an expanded opportunity to control the design, quality, and variety of products that students, faculty, staff, and alumni in the community wear and purchase. The brand inventory will include various types of limited edition merchandise that will only be available directly from the HBCU, and 5% of sales will support student success by funding scholarships. Everything Collegiate, owned and operated by Terrence Harmon for over 20 years, holds more than 85 brand licenses for colleges, societies, fraternities, as well, I'm sure, sororities. As a primary vendor to over 60 colleges, including 39 HBCUs, it provides thousands of custom collegiate products, including apparel, shoes, and giveaways. The partnership marks a significant milestone in the journey. Said Harmon, our goal has always been to support and uplift HBCUs, and working with DSU has been a fulfilling step in that direction. I'm excited to work with DSU on this historic move. Delaware State University's initial partner with Everything Collegiate on a launch of merchandise last year at the time of the university branding update. Thanks for our team. The designs were met with an overwhelming positive response, said Dr. Don Mosley, Senior Associate Vice President of Marketing Communications. Finally, our students, faculty, and staff and alumni are thrilled with the new products and kept asking for more. The key difference was that we had control over the design process, working closely to ensure it's resonated with our brand and audience, and it made a perfect sense as we best know what our audience wants. I need to get your thoughts on this, gentlemen. Obviously, for those that may not be as familiar when we talk about merchandising sales, that's not new. We've seen that all the time. We kind of jumped the Rubicon over the last 10, maybe 15 years for sure, in regards to us, that we had vendors that were not licensed, usually from CLC, certainly not from the institution, that would sell paraphernalia. And a lot of fans that want to represent their institution would buy it. We jumped that first Rubicon where we went to the licensing products, where you could license directly through the institution, or you could go to a company like CLC, which is a collegiate licensing company, the actual name of it, where you could partner with them, and they would ask for certain fees. The school would get a percentage of those fees. And when you would make a design, you would send a design to CLC. They would send it to the institution, and they would give you approval, or maybe not. And at that time, it would go in the marketplace and be sold. So with that being said, to kind of get the difference, as you see with this private label, where actually the institution itself is directly involved in the designing process, as you read and heard from the product, and which means they're going to get a higher percentage of the sales because of their involvement, which is the private line effect. With that being said, Drew, what are your thoughts on this? And then I'll go to you, Charles.
I think there are two, as I'm looking at this, there are two key things that you did not give in the summary that I would like to bring out, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
We're no longer restricted to buying pre-made, mass-produced products that follow a standard design with our logo incorporated in it. That's not true ownership. We must protect what has taken us for over a century to build, and Dr. Mosley has said that. And also, we are not competing with our campus stores or partners who sell merchandise with our brand.
Okay, that was a question I had.
Yeah. We value their contributions and the royalties they generate. It's simply smart business to establish our own revenue streams from custom products. So I think that's important, that they aren't trying to cut out the middleman. They're not trying to cut out anybody else, but they are trying to create their own thing, get their own brand, and establish. There are a lot of creative people out there who are making just some of the most creative people we know is the T-shirt man, who licensed or not licensed, and some of the designs that they have out there on those streets. And for institutions to embrace it and be able to partner with them and control with them, I mean, it's just smart business. And the fact that they're not doing this to build a building or something like that, when this money is actually going back to the students in the form of scholarships, I think that is a brilliant move They say they're not competing. Come on, let's be real. You only have so much money that you can spend on merchandise. It's the same thing as right now. Whether we give to the NIL collective or do we give to the boosters at the university? It's the same thing because you're only going to give. You only have so much money to give with human. So they aren't directly competing. They're offering an option, but we'll see where that option starts to flow and the market trends start to flow with that additional options out there.
Great, and I'm glad you added that additional context. You're absolutely right. I'll say this before I take it to you, Charles, to get your final thoughts on this. While there is obviously some crossover competition, but usually when you talk about private labels, they're going to be a little more expensive. So you are actually marketing, in my estimation, or I like to put on the table, you're marketing to a select group, somebody that are truly affinity. So Charles, as we talk about in the marketing class, and AD, you're very familiar with this too, being a marketing person officially now, beyond what you've always done with Morehouse College, in terms of your title. You know, you have what you call an escalator, and we call it a fan index, right? Escalator. And for those that have not heard me talk about this a while, may have forgot or have not heard it, fan escalator is the thing that we talk about in marketing classes, sports marketing classes, where we talk about what is the level of fan. So if you think about an escalator, one that you're going up, you have different levels of zones that you have a fan. You have those at the top of the escalator, right? Those are fans that are very involved. The quickest way I can probably give you an example of that is think about the fans that you see at the game that have their face painted. Those folks are over-indexing, if you allow me to give you that example. They're at the very highest end. Those folks, you know, sleep and drink their support for their sports team, if we're using this sporting context, college team, if you would, in terms of how much they were going. They probably have the room painted type of thing. They have blankets, if you would, all kinds of trinkets and different type of merchandise to show their affinity for their institution. Then you have those folks lower. Those may be the folks that you think about that just go to homecoming games, right? They're attached to the institution, very proud of the institution, but their index on the sporting is not there. Then you have some of those folks that don't necessarily go to the game. They love their institution, whatever you want to call it, but they're more casual fans. You know, they'll look at the score or they can talk to you about it, but they don't necessarily buy merchandise. You know, they don't do that. So in this case, when you think about it, the mass merchandise will be kind of like in the middle or at the lower end, where folks would just get anything they want to put on a shirt. Those folks that are higher index, and those are folks that have more money and availability, they may like certain type of apparel. So, for example, I tend to no longer buy T-shirts. I don't like T-shirts. I'll take them if they're free, given to me at no cost or whatever. But if I'm going to buy something and I decide to pay it, I'm very picky in terms of what I want to wear, although I want to represent, you know, the institutions I'm associated with. That could be Prairie View, Texas Southern University, SWAC, if you would, or even MEAC, SIAC. But I'm only going to buy those CIAA. I bought a jacket, but it was a jacket that was pretty expensive for most folks that you would purchase it. But it was all engraved in terms of the stitching. And so I like that quality. So I'm willing and I'm in a position I'll pay more for it. Doesn't make me any more different than a fan, but the index where I am. And so I think that's one thing I think is important to kind of context is while there's some competition, there's some uniqueness about this as well. And I'm also a type of person who likes to get things that I don't think other folks have. I love being able to walk into the institution or in a ball game, if you would, with some apparel on that is something that's made particularly for me, or it's something that I know that not a lot of folks are going to have, but they're going to catch your eye and be like, ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
Charles?
Well, I think the $1 million question for me is, although they're generating or establishing their own revenue stream, I guess my question is how do you, I guess for lack of better words, turn the attention of the fan base to the product that you're attempting to sell? When so many times, you know, we have our favorite vendors or we have the campus bookstore or whatever the case might be.
Even Academy Sports and stuff like that,
Yeah,
where you may pick up your licensed merchandise,
or even Walmart. But the question becomes, how do you change the thought process of the fan base to say, hey, this is ours, spend it here?
I don't necessarily think you're changing, Ron said. Again, remember, there's different folks on that escalator. So it's not necessarily trying to convert somebody. If you get some, that's great. You can always have what we call those early adopters. You've heard that in terms of Malcolm Gladwell and those folks that push the narrative in terms of getting people to buy into a new framework. I do think you're right. You're important from the standpoint having distribution is going to be important. And so a natural place to have that you would think about would be on your athletic website. It probably, if you're doing any general work there, folks are going to draw to that, particularly folks that have some level of affinity. So that means they're already attached. They're going to go to the athletic website to get updates on the games and stuff like that. So if you're able to create a design that allows you to attract folks when they get there, they're going to click and they're going to check it out. Now it's just a matter what level of affinity and do you have a design that they like? That's up to the creative process. That's just a natural thing. You can have some things you hit on and some things you don't. That's just the marketing thing about it. I mean, you can't create something and just know something. Every once in a while, you might have that. The other part of it is the secondary, which is another key component of it, is advertising. Advertising costs dollars, so that's going to be a deciding point until you advertise. But I would argue that unless you get to a certain level of sales, most folks don't do a great deal of advertising. That's just, that's what it is. So you're going at your biggest place is to put it where somebody is going. I don't want to belabor it. I think great dialogue, as we always like to get into the business part of sports. But let's get into some supporting context, and we'll be back after this first break.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
Supermarket sushi, really?
No. Wait, Troy, you work here?
I'm never not working. Like Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield technology, up to 100% dandruff protection, even between washes.
Never not working, huh?
Oh, Troy, you're such a good teacher.
Yeah, I know. Never not working. Never not working. Never ever not working.
Are you serious?
Never not working. Dandruff protection that's never not working. Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield technology.
Hey, grab me one too.
Charmin Ultra Soft has so much cushiony softness, it's hard for your family to remember they can use less.
Sweet pillows of softness.
This is soft.
Holy Charmin. Oh, excuse me. Roll it back, everybody. Sorry.
Charmin Ultra Soft is so cushiony soft, you'll want more, but it's so absorbent, you can use less, so it's always worth it.
Now, what did we learn about using less?
You gotta roll it back, everybody.
We all go. Why not enjoy the go with Charmin?
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavil of Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
Press the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. I want to talk a little bit about these top seven matchups. There's 2 games that feature 4 teams in this top 7 matchup. This is the 3rd consecutive week where CIAA's just had all the feature games in terms of those matchups. We snuck one in last weekend between the SWAC top 7 teams, and we had some that stretched it when you went in to those receiving votes looking at the top 7. But I'm fascinated here when we look at these 2 matchups. We talked a little bit about this on Tuesday after we released the top 7 polls. But I want to get into some keys of victories. I want to take it to the next step, and I want to get into your mindset. When we talk about this first one, number 7, Virginia State University, those Trojans are at Johnson C. Smith. That's the number 1 ranked Golden Bulls from the 4th consecutive week. We've had the opportunity to interview head coach this past Tuesday. For those that didn't have a chance to grab and see that, go back and check it out. Great talk with Coach there, getting it done in terms of his thoughts on this program and how they made the transition to start this season with such success. Charles, I want to ask you and start with you in terms of what are some key successes of Johnson C. Smith. What do they have to do against this Virginia State team to get the victory this week?
I think offensively they've been doing a great job, but when you're talking about Johnson C. Smith, you hang your hat on the defense. I mean, they're one of the top defenses in Division II. They're only surrendering 10 points per game. I think if you're going to have success for Virginia State, you got to get the running game up and going. Jamil Williams is 4th in the CIAA in rushing. He's averaging about 4.5 yards a pop. And then the big thing for Virginia State is they're 10 of 11 in the red zone. They're number 1 in the CIAA in terms of scoring in the red zone, 10 of 11 attempts, 8 of those being touchdowns, and they're protecting the football. Another interesting stat that I looked at with regards to Virginia State, the quarterback, he has the least amount of passing attempts, or one of the least amount of passing attempts. So they're protecting the football. They're protecting the quarterback. They're playing smart, gritty football. They're using the run game to set things up for the passing game. So those are the things I think Virginia State has to do. But this is a different defense. I think it's going to be tough for Virginia State to go down and get the win in Charlotte. I'm taking Johnson C. Smith in this one.
Ooh-wee. I put the money on the table. I like it. All right. AD Drew, I asked Charles from the perspective of what Johnson C. Smith had to do to get it done. I want to ask you in terms of Virginia State. What do they need to get it done? And obviously you can mix in both in terms of what either would need to do to win. And then at the end, give your thoughts in terms of what direction you may see things going and why.
It's real simple. Johnson C. Smith can win in a shootout. Johnson C. Smith can win in a grinded out. So Virginia State, I think Virginia State would be better in a grinded out game against Johnson C. Smith than a shootout against Johnson C. Smith, as Johnson C. Smith has shown they can win both ways this year. So if you're Virginia State, you have to keep this game close. You have to keep this game clean. You have to flip the field and then take advantage of the opportunities. If there's a turnover in the game, it needs to be by Johnson C. Smith, not by the Trojans. So that's what Virginia State's going to have to do. Virginia State is going to have to play as close to a clean game as possible against this Johnson C. Smith team in order to pull off. Dare we say upset now? Because it's hard to it's hard to say upset when you're talking about Johnson C. Smith being on the top end of the upset now. It's hard to form those words, but given what they have done this year, it would be an upset.
I have to agree with you that and it would be an upset based on the rankings. But yeah, it's kind of still getting used to putting that out your mouth But I guess if you're a Golden Bulls fan, you say get used to it because we plan to stay here. We shall see this weekend that it is another matchup. And they've done this now. They've been at the top and playing top 7 matchups, and they've come out on the favor over the last couple of weeks. So it is what it is. Let's go to the second matchup. This stays in the CIAA. Boy, the CIAA just continues to give us love. On Tuesday, you talked about as we get a little more in the SIAC play that you might see some teams from the SIAC jumping into the top 7 more than the one from Clark Atlanta sitting at number 2, which is fascinating because you do have 2 teams just sitting outside the top 7 in terms of Albany State Golden Rams and Miles Golden Bears. So they're knocking on the door, respectively sitting essentially at 9 and 10. With that being said, let's go back to this top 7 matchup. This is closer in terms of the difference in the teams. You have a number 3 Winston-Salem State, the Rams, going to Virginia. They face number 5 Virginia Union University in terms of the team that righted the ship last week when everybody was surprised when it got beat up 2 weeks ago in a tough contest that just went to not their way. But with that being said, I'm going to stay with you, AD Drew. I want to get your keys to what this matchup looks like in terms of what Winston-Salem State. I'm going to go with the road team with you on this one. What do they need to do at the higher ranked team, number 3? What do they need to do to go on the road and get this win over the number 5 ranked Virginia Union Panthers?
Can I give a PSA to everybody who's either going to be watching this game or attending this game, first of all? If you are looking for an air assault in this game, if you're looking for either one of these quarterbacks to throw the ball more than 20 times in this game, you are watching or attending the wrong game. Winston-Salem State averaging 148 on the ground. Virginia Union averaging 165 on the ground. So, this is a 3 yards in a cloud of dust, an old slobber knocker type game. So, with that being said, it's really going to come down to, let's see, Virginia Union, 26 minutes. They have 26 minutes per game possession. Winston-Salem, they're averaging 30 minutes, almost 31 minutes per game. So Winston-Salem, if you're going to beat Virginia Union, number 1, we are. Do I state the obvious, Charles, or who they need to stop on Union? Do I need to state the obvious?
Why not?
Okay, you got to stop Jada Byers.
You got to stop Jada Byers. Yeah.
Got to stop Jada Byers. That's number 1. Number 2, when you have the ball, you have to control the clock. You're averaging almost 31 minutes. If you look at time possession and it's up around 35 minutes in favor of Winston-Salem State, chances are Winston-Salem State can come out on the top end of this. If it's closer to 30-30 as far as time of possession, that's going to favor Union in this game. Once again, just like the others, clean game. Least amount of penalties, least amount of turnovers, because I think these 2 teams right now are that close together.
Certainly. Charles, dig into it.
They are close together. I mean, and as AD mentioned, it's going to be an old-fashioned slobber knocker. You talk about Jada Byers and Curtis Allen. Heck of a 1-2 punch for Virginia Union. But I will say, Mark Wright last week for Virginia Union, he did throw for 4 touchdowns. So we might see the ball up in there a little bit.
But what was them, like a 3-yard dump on those touchdowns? They was on the 5-yard line. That's what you need to look at, Charles. They had 8 men in the box. Of course, he was gonna throw it.
He threw for 294 yards last week. They got a little balance. But I think this game hinges on whether Winston-Salem can they stop the run. They're number 2 right now in the CIAA in rush defense. They're only giving up 3.3 yards a carry. So can you stop this 1-2 punch of Virginia Union? Can Dalen Lee? I think he has to throw the ball in this game a little bit. Can he get up and going? That's going to be the question from Winston-Salem State. But I think it'll be a good one. It'll be a close one. It'll come down to the 4th quarter, but I'll take Virginia Union at home.
One Winston-Salem State, Virginia Union. Good information here. WSSU Ram Nation. I think you all know who that is, but I won't spoil it for those that hadn't figured it out yet. You put up here that the record is 23-23-1.
Yeah.
Well, you're talking about really even. That's pretty nice. That's pretty cool to read that. And he wanted to remind you, as you said, Charles, he wanted to remind you, AD Drew, and everybody else is listening, that they threw for 3 passing touchdowns last week. I think AD Drew already put the qualifier there. He wants to know how long were those passes in terms of being in the air and were there any run after catch.
I got a 65-yard pass from.
Yeah, but he wants to know the yak. He said, was it actually 30 yards, 40 yards, 60 yards, or was it 5 in the dude?
You know, it was a 20-yard and 2 missed tackles. I mean, come on.
Man, let's take our next break and get back on the other side. We'll talk a little bit about some major division matchups, some other top matchups, or any other matchups you want to talk about that's out there. So with that, let's take our next break and come back on the other side.
Hey, grab me one too.
This is Brian Fulford. AD Drew and I are co-hosts of the BCSN Sports Lab. We talk about all things related to HBCU athletics. From the games, teams, coaches, and fan interest stories, we cover it all. You can find our shows on Facebook at BCSN Sports Lab, YouTube at MyJBN Online, and everywhere you listen to podcasts like Anchor, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find the show on the Jericho Broadcast Network's app. Make sure to download. We look forward to you joining the conversation and being a part of the show.
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavil of Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
Choice Hotels is a family of brands that helps you get the most for your money so you can be any traveler you want to be.
You could be a free hot breakfast hero at a comfort hotel.
Yes!
That's how you waffle.
Mr. This Script got a plot twist at a Radisson hotel.
A business big leaguer.
Go for key.
Even the ultimate pool float inflator.
With 22 brands and the best value for your money, Choice Hotels has a stay for any you. Book direct at choicehotels.com, where travels come true.
Gotta get the corners.
You're looking for the latest information on Southern University sports, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and HBCU athletics. There's only one place to go. Tune in to the Carlos Brown Show, exclusively on the Black College Sports Network.
Compress the analytic data with your hip-hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they want to lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, because he gonna teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil inside the HBCU Sports Lab. I want to talk about the number 1 ranked team in the rankings this week, which is North Carolina Central. They have a matchup where they face off against Campbell. Last week, Campbell got the win over Delaware State. Surprised a lot of folks because Delaware State obviously kept it close, but not only that, they were led a couple of times in that matchup and had a chance late in that game to find a way maybe to get the win. They did not, but you have Delaware State taking on Campbell, which have had a couple of good matchups over the last couple of years. But North Carolina Central, that number 1 HBCU ranked major division team, the Eagles are on the road at Campbell's. North Carolina Central, after a big victory last week, comes in at 3-2 this week, 2-3. They're 1-0 in terms of what they look like in the conference race. But I'm interested in your thoughts on this matchup featuring the Eagles of North Carolina Central, Charles.
I mean, week in, week out, we talk about the consistency of the quarterback play. Walker Harris, huge game last week, 4 touchdown passes. Can he continue to stay hot? And then the interesting thing with regards to Walker Harris, he completed passes to, if I'm not mistaken, 7 or 8 different receivers. But I just think it comes down to whether you get a good quarterback play from Walker Harris going into this one. It's going to be tough going into Campbell, but I think Central can get it done.
I like it. Eddie Drew, what are your thoughts in terms of the Eagles in this matchup going on the road? Can they continue to be the killers of getting it done in the FCS level when they step out of conference? Obviously, they had a tough loss early this year, but they've been known over the last 3 years as a top 25 program, one of the top HBCU programs, ranked this week number 1, getting back to that spot. Can they go on the road and get the victory over Campbell? And if so, what will it take?
I hope they can. What concern? Well, it's not necessarily concern, but both these teams give up over 200 yards per game on the ground. So, but neither one of these teams are a offensive juggernaut on the ground. So, which one of these teams is going to be able to establish their run game and take advantage of the weakness of the other one's defense is going to be the key in this game. Both these teams rush for about 130 per game, while both teams give it up around 205 per game on the ground. So I think that's going to be the key thing that we need to look for in this particular ball game. We've seen Central do it. We saw Central do it on the ground in the OBC. So we've seen Central break out and put up a whoop stick on another CAA opponent.
Whoop stick, boy, he didn't win country on it. I like
but that. We've also seen Central on the receiving end of a whoop stick against a CAA opponent. Yeah. So which Central team is going to show up? I know which one I want to see, but it's not up to me. I don't coach, so I'm going to leave it right there.
With that being said, let's go to this next matchup. Going back to the SWAC, number 2, Florida A&M Rattlers. They've been off for a couple of weeks, but they're taking on Alabama State. This has become a rival in terms of being close in proximity. Both teams bands go and travel back and forth for these matchups. And the game has been close, at least when it was in Montgomery 2 years ago. It started out pretty close last year for that matter. With that being said, Eddie Drew, what are your thoughts in terms of this essentially number 9, if you would, Alabama State, in terms of the rankings as they're outside receiving votes? And number 2, the Rattlers, big time conference game, Eastern Division. You know how that goes. What are your thoughts, Eddie Drew?
If there has been one team since FAMU has joined the SWAC that has given them fits, it is Alabama State. No offense, Charles. We know things with Jackson State and everything, but if there's one team that here y'all blew us out. Y'all blew us out one year. The other year was competitive, and then the other year we blew y'all out the third year.
After the show was gone,
yeah. But the team that gave us the most fits has been Alabama State. For some reason, the Alabama State's defense has matched up with FAMU's offense. Daniel Richardson has, he's done an adequate job back there, but I have a question about how this game is going to flow for FAMU. With the start, stop, coming off the unplanned bye this past week. Will a slow start by FAMU, which, let's be realistic, for most of us, we would not be surprised if FAMU gets off to a slow start. Hell, they haven't really gotten off to a fast start in any game this season. Now, when you sit here and think about it, can that be the difference to keep an Alabama State team in this game who has their own set of offensive challenges that they're on about the 82nd quarterback that they've had this year? Yeah. No, they're on their fourth quarterback this year.
Yeah.
So we know E-Rob is going to put the ball into somebody's belly. Ain't going to put it in there often on Saturday. So, and FAMU has had their challenges stopping the run. This game, on paper, FAMU should be favored in this game, but it's something about this game that scares the crap out of me when you really look at it and break it down.
Charles, what are your thoughts in terms of the matchup? I know you have a little debate in terms of the closeness, but I kind of see where Drew was trying to go with that matchup. In terms of two of the games featuring Jackson State were not close, only one was, and I guess he's saying there were various close games against Alabama State. Neither there. Let's talk about this matchup. We got enough time to wait for FAMU Jackson State. That's another one. Right now, we're talking about Alabama State and FAMU.
AD is scared every week with FAMU, and every week FAMU. Man, cut it out. So let me ask you a question.
I like that. That is true, though. That's very true.
Is this Alabama State homecoming?
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
Wow. Oh,
it's gonna be plenty of orange and green there, though. You know. We just lost Charles. So, but he did ask the question: was this Alabama State's homecoming? Yes, this is Alabama State's homecoming. And kudos to Alabama State for allowing the 100 to travel to them on their homecoming. Because usually, Dr. Cavil, most teams don't let the other band travel and participate in homecoming festivities. They usually want the whole 20 minutes for themselves. But there will be plenty of orange and green in Montgomery. Even though, unfortunately, they still won't sell out. Ooh, did I say that out loud? My bad.
Yeah, you did. You said it out loud. So here's
picking on folks. Go ahead, Charles.
So
yeah, you can brag a little bit now because last time they sold out was against Jackson State.
They did.
but the first time they sold out was against who?
FAMU. Okay, take it back.
No, not FAMU. The other alma mater.
So here's the question for me. I mean, with regards to, and I think AD, you touched on it. We know it's going to be kind of rinse and repeat from here on out with regards to Alabama State. They're going to run the football and they're going to play defense. Can FAMU? Can they stop? Can they stop Alabama State running? I mean, Jamari Holzclaw, he's going to get his touches. AJ Gates is going to get his touches. The question is, can Alabama State consistently drive the field with regards to the running game? Because I'm just not looking for much from them with regards to the passing game. And if you can cut out Alabama State's running game, there's your key to victory. And you put up, get your, 10, 17 points. That might be just enough. So that's the question. And it did kind of concern me last week that Alabama State kind of wore down for whatever reason. Bethune-Cookman got hot in the fourth quarter. So that was a little breadcrumb that I kept in the back of my mind. But I think FAMU goes into Montgomery and spoils homecoming.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a good one. Good match. I do want the record to reflect to Charles' point after I gave so much credit to AD. I'm going to do my homework and self-check, as they said. 2021, FAMU won at home 28-0. Shut up. 2022, it's the one that probably sticks in everybody's head. FAMU won 21-14, but obviously Alabama State. Yeah, Alabama State was looking for a field goal. It was blocked in return for a touchdown. 2023, FAMU won at home 23-10. Close for a half, but they pulled away. So much like the Jackson State matchup with FAMU blowing out one time, Jackson State getting a blowout in only one close game that first year, which sticks in everybody's mind probably because it was such a matchup when you looked at who was featured. Alabama State hasn't won a game to the credit of FAMU. They defeated Jackson State last year.
And what's FAMU's home record over the past 3-4 years? I mean, it seems as though they're dropping a game or two at home. I'm curious about Alabama. No, Alabama State's home record.
Okay.
Yeah, what is Alabama State's home record?
Yeah, because FAMU, as we all know, hadn't lost a game.
Right. No,
Alabama State has. You're right. Alabama State over the last couple of years has dropped a key game or two at home.
I know they dropped a game last year against Division II Miles. So,
yep. So they had some tough. They hadn't been able to have the house of horrors as they had of late, even with this new framework. But that being said,
beat them at homecoming, Charles. A couple years ago.
No, Alabama State beat Jackson State for their homecoming.
Yeah,
all right. That happened last year.
Okay.
Yeah. That's a fascinating matchup for many different weeks. But we got that one coming. Let's take our next break. Come back on the other side. We'll do a last couple of games of the week and see what your thoughts are on some key matchups. This one I won't ask. I'll let you choose a game or two. So come back on the other side and tell me what is the next up game that you're looking at the most.
Choice Hotels is a family of brands that helps you get the most for your money so you can be any traveler you want to be.
You could be a free hot breakfast hero at a comfort hotel.
Yes!
That's how you waffle. Mr. This script got a plot twist at a Radisson hotel.
A business big leaguer.
Go for key.
Even the ultimate pool float inflator.
With 22 brands and the best value for your money, Choice Hotels has a stay for any you. Book direct at choicehotels.com, where travels come true.
Gotta get the corners.
The human voice has always connected audiences with experiences. Major brands all across America have trusted CAVIL'S voice time and time again. Conversational, powerhouse, intelligent, and sincere. That's the voice you need for your creative marketing process. KEAVERSVOICE.com. CAVIL'S Voice, CAVIL'S Voice, CAVIL'sVoice.com. Always on, all the time.
Since 2002, Empowerment Resources, Inc., a nonprofit organization, has empowered more than 1,500 youth and adults in Duval and surrounding counties through its programs Journey into Womanhood, Girls Mentoring, Life Skills for Teens, and Parenting Education Coaching. To get involved with programs, volunteer, or donate, visit www.empowermentresourcesinc.org. Follow us on social media, facebook.com/empowerment.resources and instagram.com/empowermentJAX.
Troy, you work here?
I'm never not working. Like Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield technology, up to 100% dandruff protection, even between washes.
Never not working.
Never not working. Never ever not working. Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield. Never not working.
When you're looking for the latest information on Southern University sports, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and HBCU athletics, there's only one place to go. Tune in to the Carlos Brown Show, exclusively on the Black College Sports Network.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Bill, inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Professor Drew and Professor Bishop. Let's get in this last segment. We'll start with you, Drew, to get right to it. What are a couple of key games that you're looking at this weekend, and why are they important to you?
First of all, Dr. Cavil, Leonard, bro, you wrong for putting that up there, Leonard, bro. I just want to say that, man. Oh my goodness. Anyway,
I'm gonna leave that alone.
We all need to leave that alone. Looking at the games that I want to feature, if I can get, thank you. I'm trying to get that comment off the screen. Let's find something in the SIAC outside the granddaddy of them all. Where's Clark at this week? Oh,
Clark Atlanta's at home, as you know.
They are on the road. Excuse me, they are at home against Savannah State.
I like that one. I was gonna go there.
Protectors of the Red Key.
I mean, Savannah State, they did not do good with the schedule change when they went to Fort Valley on last week, coming with a short week. Gonna be interesting to see if Savannah State is actually able to compete in this particular game. Also, another one that you want to keep an eye on, Albany State and Allen. That's another one I would like to keep an eye on. Allen has been playing Allen's been playing close ball this year. They have not been able to get those victories that they were able to get last year with the since everybody went down I-20 West to Atlanta. But Allen is Albany State, if they are not careful, could give one away to Allen. So let's definitely keep an eye on that particular ball game because we've seen Albany State kind of buff the ball around before. So those are two games in the SIAC that I think you need to keep an eye on there, Dr. Cavil.
I like that. I like those good choices in terms of keeping your eye and a good job of sneaking into the SIAC. I appreciate that. Charles, go to you. What games have your interest this weekend and you want us to keep our eyes on, and why?
Let me go back to the SWAC, and I think it's Alabama A&M and Jackson State. When you take a look at that game, and this is kind of okay, Alabama A&M. Let me see who you are. You know, you got a couple hammers in Donovan Eaglin and Ryan Morrow. You're the 4th ranked Russian team in the conference. Jackson State's the number 2 ranked Russian team in the conference. But this is one where Connell Maynard has talked about his offensive line not getting the respect that he felt that they were due when we go back to SWAC Media Day. He felt like he had a couple guys left off of there. So this is that game where you've got to put the hammer down. I think a good sort of barometer last week with regards to Jackson State's defense, they took on 2 pretty good running backs when you're talking about Texas Southern and Danny Green and Quintel Quinn, both newcomers of the week at various points this season with regards to Texas Southern's running game. And they held both of them to under 40 yards, which I thought was huge with regards to Jackson State's defense. So I think this comes down to whose running game steps up in this game. Can Jacobian Morgan, can he continue to be as consistent as he was last week? And very importantly, not turn the ball over for Jackson State to get the W. So that's where this game comes down to. But I'm going to slightly take Jackson State to win this one in Mobile.
Good one here. Last one I'm going to put on my list and see your thoughts on this. I think a sneaky one to watch that's probably going under the radar is Arkansas Pine Bluff Golden Lions. They're just 1-3. And they're facing Alcorn State 2-3, 1-0. Got a big victory over Valley. But unfortunately, outside of a couple of games for Valley, they probably turned people's head a different way, and you're not thinking about Valley taking that next step. So you kind of say, all right, it'll win. It kind of started out slow. In some ways, that's what natural when you have what some people would consider a rivalry game. But we don't quite know about Golden Lions. This is a divisional matchup in the West Division. We've seen several of these teams in the West play, and they got either win, loss on their ledgers already. So this is important for both these teams to start off conference play for Golden Lions for them to make a major statement if they can get it done. And obviously for the Braves, it's just about continuing the process and doing what they like to do, particularly when you think the Braves were selected to win the Western Division in terms of preseason. So get a chance to kind of make a statement that, we were selected where we're supposed to be. Yeah, there's been a change in the head coaching position, but this is the Braves Alcorn, and we're kind of at least where we were the last couple of years of being in the mix for the divisional championship. I'm intrigued about what that looks like in terms of that matchup. With that, we'll call it a show. We'll turn. Can
I sneak one last one in, Dr. Cavil, quickly?
No doubt.
All right. And this is going to be a question for everybody who votes in your poll next week. With Morgan State hanging around the top 7, having played Virginia Lynchburg 2 weeks ago, and Lincoln of PA this week, assuming that they win, which we should, where are you going to place Morgan State at? I just want to put it out there so people start thinking about it before they start getting ready to turn their votes.
That's a good question. Because if people don't have a chance to really watch that game, it can be deceiving if they have big scores. But it'd be fascinating if you go back. If you get a chance to watch it, obviously, you'll get to see the flow of the game and do they really dominate at the level that you're talking about, assuming they would. Or is this a game where they kind of push their will and get the scores late and they still struggle offensively, as Charles has asked? Where's the offense? Other than that first game they had against Hampton, we haven't really seen offense, at least for teams at the FCS level, outside of when they played Lynchburg, when they put up the points as well. So I think that's a good one, Drew, in terms of just considering, how are you going to watch that matchup if you get a chance to watch it? And if not, how much credit are you going to give them if they just find a way to blow them out and it tends to be late? Oh, good one, good one. With that being said, let's turn the page and get ready as we do it. Thank you for listening to Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Make sure you share our podcast with your friends and colleagues. I am Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, the Dean of HBCU Sports, coming from inside the lab in the College of HBCU Sports with Mike Watts and Charles Bishop. I want to thank both of these gentlemen for giving me their time. And again, we want to thank you for listening to Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Watts and Charles Bishop every Tuesday and Thursday. We're looking for Mike. I think he said he will be back next week, but you never know in terms of him finding something else to get into when things come. I tease him because I care. Tuesday and Thursday at 6 o'clock. Sunday, we'll be back at it. We'll reveal as we continue to move forward after some of these key matchups. We'll see what that top 7 looks like for the major division on Sunday. And before we close it out, go ahead, Charles.
Yeah, tune in to Swag Digital. I'll be on the call with Texas Southern Virginia Lynchburg on Saturday.
Nice, Charles. Get your work in. Follow me, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. I'll be there live, sitting in there. But I'll have my headsets on, so I want to listen to see how you do the call. Charles, support you as we do it inside the HBCU Sports Lab 1 on Twitter. I call it Twitter. I know it's X, but I call it Twitter because I can. Inside the HBCU Sports Lab on YouTube and Facebook. Dream big and continue to move forward. We will talk with you soon. Charles.
Of course.
AD.
Lecture.
Dismiss.